So I had the question, what should the play be in this for this wrist pin inside this connecting rod small end bearing, and this is the play that you get. So it's about 7/7,000ths. Now I had some other rods. So this one is one that's got more wear on it, and you can see this has got 12/1000ths of play. And if you look inside this thing here, you can see there's quite a bit of wear. This one also has wear, but it's not as bad. It's very slight. The other thing I notice is the wrist pins on the worn ones are very slightly smaller than these wrist pins. There's a few microns out. That's 1,000th of a millimeter. So you can actually see that these are actually worn. So if you look at the worn one, the diameter, I'm getting 988, 21.988, and this one $21.992. These are very slightly smaller. So obviously I'm taking the rods that are less worn. So I'm using these Hastings piston rings. You get these from Summit, although they take forever to arrive. But they're the only online retailer that seems to have these for the BMW. The differences between these and the OEM ones is in the ring gap. Now, I found the top ring back to be quite wide, but the middle ring back to be in the lower range of the spec. So I did file them very slightly. And I found what's interesting is that when you get when you file them, you tend to get a burr. So what you probably want to do is I've got this tiny little stone, and I used that to get rid of the burr. So that seemed like a good idea. So now I've got the lower ring gap something like 0.4, and the middle ring gap 0.4 and the top ring gap like 0.3 or something. So it's all within range according to BMW. So with these pistons, you know, the question is, how do you get these pins in? And that is actually extremely difficult. And there's a BMW tool with this, a specialist tool, and there's a lot of aftermarket tools. So what it is, I bought one of these cheap tools on eBay, and of course it didn't work at all because this did not fit in. So what I did is I actually machined this on my lathe to fit. I only had to take off like a 0.5 millimeter. And then I also had to machine this part so that this could fit all the way in there. So, you know, there's 2 machining operations I need to do to just get this to work. This was only like 20 or 30 bucks or something like that. Of course, it's completely useless if it doesn't work. Okay, so let's just put some oil in here. Okay, so that seems to be right. Okay, to get this in, so there's a bit of a strange trick to this. So you've got to push this in without pinching your skin. You've got to push it in quite far. And then you've got to turn it this way. So here's the gap. You've got to turn it to you've got to turn this gap to the other side. You try it any other way, it won't go in. And then you want the gap down. And then put this in with the gap down. And then with your thumb, you just hold that. And there it is, it's in. So about these bearings, so these are the calico coated. So here's the calico coated. So they're regular King rod bearings, but they've got a coating on them. So the next question I had is which way to put these, this way or this way. So where the tab is, I've made this to the left side of the engine, the driver's side. So all of them are going to be installed the same way. Now you can't go on the QR code here, and you can't go on the number over here. None of these seems to have any bearing on which way these are flipped. I think they can go either way, but to keep things consistent, I'm putting this tab on the left side. So I weighed all the pistons and all the rods, and the pistons are all within a gram of each other or less. The rods, on the other hand, they vary wildly, and finding between, I've got 3 sets of rods now. I've got the old rods, I've got some new rods on eBay, which one of them was burnt out, and then I got another set of rods from a scrapper. So, I've got like 17 rods, most of which, some of which are burnt out. So, between all of these, I found a set that was very, very close, except for one. And what I did is I just ground this slightly, and this took off a gram. And now all my rods are within 2 grams of each other. Now, factory says they must be within 5 grams, so that's very good. So they're within 3 grams, except for one of these heavy ones. I took off a gram, they're now within 2 grams. So that's how I think you can get your rods all perfect. Now, it's surprising how much material you have to take off to only get a gram, but that seems fine to me. If some of them were 5 grams out, you can't grind them enough, so I wouldn't bother with that. But 1 gram seems fine. So here's my various iterations of trying to get these all balanced, and this is my final weight there, final weight, so on. So everything seems good. Now, to guide the rods in, I made these 2 things. This is just a bit of silicone hose, and I cut the heads off 2 of the bolts. So you can screw this in, and then you can guide it in, and you won't damage your journal on your crankshaft, because it will guide it in perfectly. So that's a neat trick that I think is quite essential. This tool is quite difficult to find. I can't even remember where I got it, but it's absolutely essential for doing this whole thing. I use this for spreading the piston rings and a bunch of other uses, and don't start building an engine without one of these. Okay. So thanks for watching. See you in the next video.